Good evening and welcome to the meeting for volunteers needed by the Stewards of the Arroyo Seco. People are coming in a little bit slow, but three cheers for the people who came in right on time. That's always good. There's lots of exciting things that we're going to be discussing, and I'll go over that with you in a minute because there's been a lot happening in the Arroyo Seco. And there's a lot of opportunities for you to get involved. So let's take just a minute more or two and wait to like 7:03, and then we'll really get going. We've got a real treat, several really special things for you this evening. All right, thanks for joining us this evening. We're going to get started now. We're so glad you came. And I know there's going to be some more people coming in too soon. So this is the opportunity for people to learn more about the Arroyo Seco and what is this movement to restore and enhance the Arroyo Seco and how people can get involved. And I know some of you have been waiting on a waiting list for a while for this kind of a meeting. And so I'm really glad that we're able to put it on. I'm Tim Brick. I'm the executive director of the Stewards of the Arroyo Seco. And we've got a couple of other people who are going to be key to this meeting. One of them is Danny Gross. Danny, you want to say hello for just a second?
I'm Danny Gross. I work with Tim as the program coordinator. I've been an avid lover of the Arroyo for a long time. I'm currently getting my master's in landscape architecture at Cal Poly Pomona. And just really excited to get this off and running. And I guess I also want to send it over to Keegan, who's been working with us for a while.
Yeah, Keegan. Say hello, Keegan. We'll put your video in a little bit, but
sorry, I had to unmute myself. Hi, everybody. I live in Burbank. I've been working with Tim on the Arroyo for about a year now, and I love the stream. And yeah, I'm a trout fisherman and filmmaker. And yeah, so here I am. Hi.
Great. All right, very good. So I want to start with kind of an overview of the Arroyo Seco and what is it about? You know, why is it special, and how can you get involved? And Danny's going to go over some things about volunteer activity, and you'll see some in the slides that I'm going to show in a minute. And Danny's going to go over that with you. And I hope that we really want to get your involvement here. So I know some of you are very talented and already have a lot of background in environmental issues and environmental affairs, and we'd like to know that. And if you don't, that's fine too, because we've got lots of opportunities for you to learn and to get involved. So we really do want your involvement and your questions, and also, you know, your descriptions of yourself and why you're interested and what you'd like to find out and all of that sort of thing. And we're going to have, so we're going to start with a brief overview of the Arroyo Seco, why it's so important, what the Arroyo movement is about. And then later, Keegan's going to show an amazing little video that you just won't believe. So we'll start right now with the slides. Let me see if we can get this slide going here. All right. So can you see the slides?
Yep, you can see it.
All right, very good. So that's a picture. This is an old picture actually from Landscape Architecture magazine about the Arroyo Seco. And it was from like, I don't know, at least 15 years ago. And when we were really talking about doing stream restoration, and they were really excited about that prospect. And so there was a really nice article at that time. So that's kind of an old picture that kind of symbolizes kind of the potential for the Arroyo. You might recognize that's the 134 bridge going through Pasadena. And that's the unchannelized area that is in that area. There are two stretches of the Arroyo Seco from Devil's Gate Dam down to the confluence with the Los Angeles River that actually have have not ever been channelized, and so they are much more natural and attractive, and that's one of the areas. The other one is up closer to Devil's Gate Dam itself. So let's see. All right, so let's start. And this is a historic piece of art from maybe like the 1880s or something, and looking at the Arroyo Seco from downtown Los Angeles. And you can see the stream crawling through northeast Los Angeles up towards Pasadena, and kind of it's all barren there, and moving up to the San Gabriel Mountains in the background. And then you can see the beginning of the city of Los Angeles taking shape down by the confluence of the Arroyo Seco and the Los Angeles River. So the Arroyo Seco has always been very important to the history of Los Angeles and Southern California. And as a matter of fact, you can see how this was the confluence is located just above where they set up the original Pueblo and where the early downtown Los Angeles developed. And they put it there very intentionally because they wanted to get out of the floodwaters coming down the Arroyo Seco and coming around the hill from the valley that would occasionally flood that area. And that gives you a good sense of really the spectacular role that the Arroyo Seco has played in the history. So what is the Arroyo Seco? It's a lot of things. It's a watershed, it's a canyon, it's a stream, it's a tributary of the Los Angeles River, transportation corridor, otherwise known as the Arroyo Seco Parkway, or the Pasadena Freeway, as it's sometimes called. It's a parkway. So it was designed in a very unusual way when they did do the development of the freeway eventually. They really designed it thinking about the parkways from back east, and as much as, you know, an environmental attraction as well as a transportation hub. And it's a cultural haven as well. Tremendous amount of culture is always centered around the Arroyo Seco and the people that live in the Arroyo Seco. And there was a whole phrase, Kevin Starr's book has an excellent chapter on Arroyo culture and the very special things that came out of that culture in the early days of Los Angeles and Pasadena. And it's also communities working together in a very special place. So this is a map that the county developed 24 years ago that shows that a large part of the Arroyo Seco is up in the mountains. Roughly half of the land area really is up in the mountains and is part of the Angeles National Forest. And then you can see as we come down from the mountains, there's La Cañada Flint Ridge there, there's Altadena to the right there, there's Pasadena, and then South Pasadena and Northeast Los Angeles. And so really what makes the Arroyo in a geographic sense very unusual and special is that it's really the link between downtown Los Angeles to the San Gabriel Mountains, or from the San Gabriel Mountains to downtown Los Angeles. It's the home of Jet Propulsion Laboratory and the Rose Bowl. It's been a model for watershed management and for so-called flood control, some of which we'll talk about later. And it's also, in recent years, the Corps of Engineers started a feasibility study, but they never finished a feasibility study. But we'll have some news on that in just a minute. And it's that feasibility study was for ecosystem restoration, restoring the ecosystem in the Arroyo Seco. So there's the historic Arroyo Seco. That's the Colorado Street Bridge soon after it was built in 1912. And you can see it's really remarkable. Look at how wide the plain was there below what is the small bridge is the Parker Mayberry Bridge, and the larger bridge is the Colorado Street Bridge. And so you get a really different sense of it. Look at the stream characteristics in the area that's now the lower Arroyo. It was a wash, and it would occasionally flood. And the big flood was in 1914. And it was the flood that swept through the Arroyo, did a lot of damage, particularly in the Los Angeles stretch of the Arroyo. So you can see there, look at the slide at the bottom right, And you'll see that's the Southwest Museum there on the hillside. And you can see how the area around Avenue 43 totally flooded out. And houses along the banks of the Arroyo actually slipped into the stream, and 44 people were killed. And as a result of this flood in 1914, the county set up the Los Angeles County Flood Control District. So we were the first victims or beneficiaries of the Los Angeles County Flood Control District. It's been called the most celebrated canyon in Southern California, and Teddy Roosevelt thought so. In 1911, he said this arroyo would make one of the greatest parks in the world. And he also said, Mr. Mayor, leave it as it is. Don't touch it. Well, unfortunately, we didn't really follow his advice. So then this is a great picture of water behind the dam up at Halmagna with JPL there and the mountains behind it. And you can see how spectacular it really looks when there's water behind the dam. Very special. And you can see this picture is probably, I bet it's 15 years old, but water does go behind the dam periodically. And there's been water there in the last 2 years, as a matter of fact. And we're working with the county to try to get them to keep more water behind the dam, which is actually good for conservation and for the birds and habitat wildlife and all of that. There's another view of water behind the dam with JPL, and you can actually even see some snow there in the background. Which doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it does. So here's another view of what the watershed looks like and the neighborhoods that make up the Arroyo Seco. You can see the mountain canyon, and you can see all of the names on all of the little tributaries that are up there in the mountains as well. So I don't know how many of you are hikers, but I hope some of you are, and I hope that you really know some of these trails. And we're going to be showing you some very interesting stuff about that. So really, what makes the Arroyo so special? Well, it's the wildlife. Certainly, it's the wildlife. Just really abundant wildlife. And it's so unique because basically half of the Arroyo is in the mountains in the national forest with all sorts of semi-wilderness there. And then there's a dense urban population right below it. So it's quite unusual. The birds are, of course, a big part, a very important part of the critters that inhabit the Arroyo. Who can name these? Okay, top left. Danny?
Red-tailed hawk.
Yeah, red-tailed hawk. And then, of course, a quail down at the bottom. Aren't they cute? And the yellow warbler, which is really a scene. It's really the signature bird of streams in Southern California in our area. And it's the habitat as well. And there's 5 different kinds of habitat up there: pond marsh, chaparral, riparian, and oak woodland. And this is a view from the 40s when JPL was first getting developed. And you can see the water percolation ponds there on the left, and kind of a much sparser JPL campus at that time as the Arroyo developed around JPL. And here's a flood situation from an even earlier period. I believe this is 1941. So it really is a critical part of the history of our region. And this wonderful postcard, this is a colorized postcard, one of those classic colorized postcards of the low dam at where Devil's Gate is now. And this was where they first dammed the Arroyo to bring water into the old Indiana colony in the late 1870s. And this was a little bit later, but really, this was the first place that Pasadena got its water from, was from the Arroyo Seco stream. Here's another view of the bridge going across over there, going over to La Cañada before they built the dam. And you can see basically there's a lake back there. It's very attractive. And the current stage of the Arroyo, though, is we say it's the most celebrated canyon in Southern California, but it's really not escaped widespread damage caused mostly by human impact. So this is what the Arroyo looks like today. The one on the left, that's the confluence the great confluence of the Arroyo Seco with the Los Angeles River. So in the background there, you can see the LA River flowing by, and you can see the big power towers going through the area. That area is kind of looking almost directly at Dodger Stadium to orient you a little bit. It's looking across at Elysian Park, and Dodger Stadium's kind of over the ridge there, not very far away from the confluence with the Arroyo Seco. But you can see what the glorious stream called the Arroyo Seco, what ignominy it suffers when it gets into the flood channel and denuded from the habitat and wildlife. On the right, you can see this is right below the Rose Bowl, the Seco Street drain, and you can see all the trash going into the Arroyo Seco. And we'll have some news about that because we're going to have, I'm going to announce information about a trash cleanup that you can participate in Saturday of next week. And it's right below, not far, 100 yards below the Seco Street drain. And it's very sad, all of the trash that washes into the Arroyo, although there have been some steps in recent years to minimize it a little bit. And then below that, you can see the Arroyo in LA and how they've, channelized right up to the freeway. And it was really built in tandem with the freeway. The two work together for better or for worse. The original planners of the Arroyo Seco Parkway originally talked about putting the freeway up on the ridge on both sides of the Arroyo, not down in the canyon itself. But ultimately, the transportation planners went out and put it right up the middle of the stream, basically, ripped up the whole stream and reconfigured the whole thing. And that's part of what we're about, is trying to restore some of the natural beauty. Here's the area in Pasadena what Pasadena calls the lower Arroyo. That's, again, that's the San Rafael Bridge. And there's a project that's now coming in that's with regard to San Rafael Creek right in that area there. So you can see kind of the spectacular trees that are in there. You can see that some of them aren't natives. You see sycamores, you see oak trees, and it looks like a few eucalyptus trees there as well. This is a picture that we've been pondering for a long time. That we have this beautiful natural area down there, and there's the concrete channel going through it to rush the floodwaters out to the ocean as quickly as possible. And of course, what we think is wrong with this is, what's that flood channel doing there? It's not needed. Expand the floodplain, expand the hydraulic system around that area, and there's nothing there that really would suffer if people would get out of this, if they would get out of the storm. That area could easily, handle floods even, but it certainly on an ongoing basis could look much more spectacular. And if we can revive its environmental value. And here's some pictures from the 90s in a project that those of us in the Arroyo Seco movement worked on in the 90s, in which we brought in low flow streams. And that's why you see how the lower Arroyo looked at that time. And now if you look at that area, it's very lush and full of riparian habitat. So even though the flood channel is still there, the habitat around the side has recovered fairly well, although the area really hasn't been maintained very well by the city of Pasadena. Now, the Corps of Engineers, I told you, did a study of how to restore the ecosystem in the Arroyo Seco, and they looked, these were the partners over here. You can see on the right, the Corps of Engineers, the lead local partner was the County Flood Control District, and then the cities of Pasadena, La Cañada, Flint Ridge, and the community of and the city of Los Angeles as well, and the community of Altadena is also part of it. So that's the map, and that's what they were planning on. Now, what's really, and they considered these sites for really extensive restoration activities in the Halmungna area, and then all the way as you go down the Arroyo, and you get to the lower Arroyo Park, Brookside area, South Pasadena Island. the Arroyo Seco through Los Angeles and some of those parks in LA that could easily be kind of melded into the Arroyo River Park system that we've been advocating. That's Sycamore Grove Park and others as well. So as we say, is this any way to treat a river? You know, you put chain link about it. I mean, and it's still spectacular. I mean, amazingly, but you can see that picture on the right was taken in 2010, and you can see the water coming up and flowing through. Now, this is a picture of what the Arroyo Seco looks like. Again, this is the confluence. You might recognize it from the picture we had just a minute ago. And the reason I'm showing it to you, this was a rendering done by Mia Lair, a noted landscape architect. And this is what she said in the city of LA's watershed restoration program, the LA River Restoration Program. This is what she said it should look like. Now, in LA, the Corps of Engineers is moving ahead with a $1.6 billion restoration program on the LA River, and this is actually a component of it. Now, not that they're going to use exactly this design. We're not sure what their design really looks like yet, but this is one of the components of the LA River restoration and in downtown LA. Ironically, they left everything above this area out, so the rest of the Arroyo going up into the mountains is out. So the good news really is that the County of Los Angeles is reinitiating the Arroyo Seco Ecosystem Restoration Study, and it's a very exciting opportunity really to reshape and to restore the natural character of the Arroyo. Very exciting project, and Supervisor Barger gets some credit for that, and also the community groups such as us who work so hard to get that program going again. You know, you might ask, well, is that really a pipe dream? Well, it's not a pipe dream; it's a flood channel, actually. But it's more than a dream, because you look at the major bridges that are along the Arroyo, they were all built before the flood channel was built, you know, which kind of says something about, hey, maybe we can restore much more, you know, natural systems going through here, because the bridges were all built to handle a more natural river system, surprisingly. So we go on here, and this is the area, you know, right below the 134 freeway. And this is the area that the Arroyo advocates and members of the Arroyo movement put together 15 years ago, in which we brought back the Arroyo chub, a native fish, to the Arroyo Seco. So this is the area just below the 134 freeway bridge, and that's the slime slide, for those of you who recognize it, which is the diversion from the natural area that is underneath the three bridges that are in the Arroyo. What are the bridges? The 134 freeway, the Colorado Street, and the one they're going to repair, they're repairing the other one just now. They've just announced that they're going to do it, so it's going to be, but then as the stream goes under those three those three bridges, this is what it looks like. It's already pretty darn nice, very beautiful, and we can bring that back to much more of the Arroyo. This is another proof. This is a project that we worked with the city of Pasadena in order to restore a little stream that is coming into Haamungna Watershed Park, and Caltrans had dumped some drainage into it, and it was creating a lot of erosion, and it was really wearing away the whole canyon, and it was unsafe. And so we worked together with the city of Pasadena on a project. It was dedicated 4 years ago in the middle of right as the pandemic was breaking loose. And so nobody knows about it. I mean, no, people who know Haamungna know about it. The bridge is brand new, and you can see the stream. And this actually was taken early in. There's much better riparian landscape through that area right now. This is a great example, by the way, of the kind of stream restoration that can occur all throughout the Arroyo. And one important thing to keep in mind is that the flood channel is inadequate for future floods in the area of climate change. So think about that. They know it's not a crazy idea. They have to do something to improve the situation. And the most sensible thing to do is to try to restore as much as possible of the natural hydrology in this area. And so, you know, we call that the Arroyo River Parks program, which takes 30 parks and open spaces along the Arroyo Seco and will integrate them with the Arroyo Seco stream in order to create a much more natural ecosystem for the future. Now, the reason we're here tonight is to talk about volunteers and how people can get involved in this. And we want you to share in learning about the history of the Arroyo, but also learning about the future of the Arroyo. And you can be change agents who can make things really happen in the future. Volunteers are absolutely essential to creating the base, the political base of support, as well as the interest in the public and among the politicians and the city councilmen and the assemblymen and the congressmen. And I have to say, by the way, that our biggest champion in the Arroyo Seco ecosystem restoration study has been a congressman whose name you might know, Adam Schiff. He has been awesome for 20 years backing the Arroyo Seco study. And now he's probably going to be the senator elected in November. And we're really overjoyed to be able to continue to work with him in an even more powerful position that he's been in. So we'd like to thank you for coming tonight. We really appreciate your support. And we want to put you to work on tasks that you're sure to enjoy. So what are some of the joys? What are some of the jobs that are available? Well, it's up to you. You know, there will be some activities that we will sponsor, but there's also things that you can get into that will be really valuable and that you can share with others. So stream cleanups are a very good example of the kind of things that we've done over and over and over again. I was talking to the guy, there's going to be a big stream cleanup on Saturday, September 21st in the Arroyo Seco, kind of underneath, in the area underneath the bridges there, the natural area, cleaning up all the trash there. And I was talking to one of the coordinators from the Pasadena Audubon Society today, and I said, you know, I think we've done that stream cleanup at least 25 times. You know, you have to keep doing it again and again because trash keeps washing into that area, unfortunately. But other things like, oh, how about a photographer? Wouldn't that be great? How about someone who could help with newsletters and publications, tours and public education? You know, we hope that some of you will learn enough about the Arroyo that you can actually lead tours in the Arroyo Seco. And you can tell people about the habitat and wildlife and why it's so special and the connection with the San Gabriel Mountains and downtown LA and, you know, really all of the magic of the Arroyo. And, you know, maybe some of you are expert in geographic information systems, and we'd like to put you to work on habitat mapping and coming up with some really good maps and maps about fish conditions as well. So we have trout scouting has really been incredibly important in the last few years because 4 years ago, 4 years ago, two things happened. One is the city of Pasadena issued an environmental impact report that said there were no trout in the mountains. And the California Department of Fish and Wildlife came forward and we kept saying, no, there's fish there, you're not looking. But the California Department of Fish and Wildlife took fish from the aftermath of the fire on the West Fork of the San Gabriel River, which was called the Bobcat Fire. And they moved 469 trout into the Arroyo Seco. And in June, so just 2 months ago, the Department of Fish and Wildlife found that there's more than 4,000 trout in the Arroyo Seco, in the mountain part of the Arroyo Seco now. So those fish have thrived since, you know, many of them were added by that relocation effort. There's other things, research, advocacy, and organizing. Tree planting has always been a favorite activity of ours. although we haven't done any recently, but there's a lot of trees in the Arroyo that really were planted by Arroyo Seco activists, invasive species removal, grant writing. So I think I think the most exciting thing going on now, and I know that probably both Danny and Keegan are going to talk about this, so I won't take up too much time on talking about the native trout in the Arroyo and how significant they are and how magic the steelhead are, just totally magic. And we have the opportunity to play a major role in the recovery of the steelhead, which is an endangered species. So I'll let Danny and Keegan have their say on that. Now, this is about the coastal cleanup that's coming up. And you say coastal cleanup, why coastal cleanup? Well, you know, they've been doing this for like 40 years now. And when we started getting involved in doing cleanups, you know, we went to the people who were doing the coastal cleanup and said, hey, we want to do one in the Arroyo. And they said, well, the Arroyo, what coast is that on? You know, that's not a coast. And I go, no, we are a coastal, we're a coastal stream because our flow goes all the way to the Pacific Ocean. And finally, the people at Heal the Bay and the California Coastal Conservancy, they got it. They said, oh yeah, that's of course. Yeah, of course. And, you know, a lot of the trash that goes out to the ocean comes from the upland areas, the inland areas like our area. And it goes all the way out to the ocean and is very harmful to fish and wildlife. And so anyway, on Saturday, just Saturday after next, not this Saturday, but 9 days away, they're going to have, I believe it's 80 sites throughout Los Angeles County where they're going to do cleanups, and they're going to pick up tons and tons and tons of trash. And it's going to be really good. It's probably going to be the best cleanup they've ever had. And this is this is billed as one of the largest volunteer programs in the world. So I hope some of you will sign up. And the way to do this is to go to Heal the Bay's website and click on the Coastal Cleanup Day and make sure to check. The first site listed is Arroyo Seco, so it'll be hard to miss. So make sure to sign up with Heal the Bay, and we're going to be there, and hopes a lot of you will be there too. It's really a very specific volunteer activity that you can participate in just 9 days away. And that's the end of my part of the story. But I'll probably come back. But I did want to turn it over to Danny at this time to say a few words. Now, Danny is kind of a newcomer, but he's really gotten active really fast in the Arroyo Seco. You want to tell your story, Danny?
Yeah. So again, my name's Danny Gross. I've been working with Tim and Keegan for a few months now, but yeah, I was actually just walking the Arroyo one day and ran into Keegan and started chatting about fishing because I'm a big fly fisherman, and I had no idea that there were over 4,000 trout in the river. And from there, I got linked up with him, and I just haven't looked back. I love this place. I've been in LA for 10 years, and I go at least once a week. And it's been very important to me to help out and to just work and to find other people, like-minded individuals to continue to work on the LA River. I mean, not the LA River, the Arroyo Seco. Sorry, getting some projects confused. But
We
like
are
Tim,
part of the LA River.
yeah, we are part of it. But like Tim said, we are going to be sending out a lot of information in the coming weeks about how you can get involved, and also just how you would like to get involved. Like Tim said, he gave a list of many things that we are able to do or that we're wanting to do. But we'd also want to hear from you and what experience you have. We've known people who are really good with water testing, who have equipment to do temperature and pollution gauging in the water. Even for trout scouting, many individuals make dams within the river, which just lessens the water quality and lessens the chance for our trout to survive. And we're looking for people to even just come with us, me and Keegan one day, or whoever's interested in just knocking those down. But yeah, we are trying to get more and more involved every day, just on cleaning it up, working with local politicians to work on projects, to ensure that the Arroyo Seco is not forgotten, as we are trying to find more nature-based solutions to clean Los Angeles. And I don't know, Tim, if you want to send it over to Keegan.
Why don't we send it to Keegan now? Are you ready, Keegan, to tell people who you are and what you've been doing?
Yeah, I am ready. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, okay. I'm gonna try to share my screen. Whoever's the host,
I have to share here.
it says host disabled participant screen sharing. If you can figure out a way to turn that on.
Okay.
But I'll just tell you. So my name is Keegan
that's
Uhl,
right. Where do I go to share? Yeah. Okay. I just turned on multiple participants.
Oh, boom. Got it. Okay. Desktop one. I think that's gonna work. Can y'all see this? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Honk if you can see my screen. Okay. Let me make this smaller so I can navigate here. But my name is Keegan. I live in Burbank. I started hiking the Arroyo. I've hiked all over the San Gabriel Mountains, everywhere. Just to tag a little bit on what Tim said about the fish. So I'm a fly fisherman. The Arroyo is kind of the closest stream to my house. A lot of times this is what it looks like right here. So this time of year, there's not a lot of water in it. But the fish are kind of like a sign of how things are going, right? So if there's a lot of fish in the river, that means that it's a healthy river. I've also seen California newts, and I just saw an American the last time I was there, and I was fishing next to this is a fun little clip. I'm not sure. Tell me, and feel free to use the chat box too to tell me what's going on. I think, well, no, I don't have it open, but there was a great blue heron that was fishing with me for about a half an hour the last time I was there. And he was kind of looking at me like, what are you doing, dude? This is my stream. So that was kind of cool, but it's just an incredible natural area. It is absolutely gorgeous. If you haven't been up there, here's a little peek at kind of like the water clarity is unbelievable. These are the little fish you can carry. This is just a tiny little fish I caught in a fly rod. And you can just see, look at the water quality. I mean, it's incredible. And it's no big surprise that the trout have done so well that they relocated. So yes, they relocated trout from the West Fork of the San Gabriel. And I kind of have, and they meaning California Fish and Wildlife, I kind of am wondering right now what their thoughts are, because as we all know, what we're doing right now is we're doing this. And this is the bridge fire. And the bridge fire, you can see, started down by the East Fork of the San Gabriel, and it burned clear across 13 miles of open forest in about 24 hours. And we've all seen it on the news in Wrightwood. And the hope is that we can get the fire under control while we have these ocean breezes. Sorry, I'm in the flight path at Burbank Airport. So if you hear an airplane right over my head right now, it's because I'm in the garage and doors open. But the Arroyo Seco is right over here in this drainage right here. And so I'm hoping that we can get enough of a handle on this fire that we don't have a repeat of 2009 where this entire forest burns. Because if this fire doesn't get controlled, when the Santa Ana winds arrive, they go the opposite direction. They come off the desert, and it's going to push that fire directly towards the Arroyo Seco. So I'm watching this fire carefully, but I'm also now, this is exactly what happened with the West Fork, and the reason those fish, the West Fork is right here. You can see it says West Fork San Gabriel River. And that was the bobcat fire. And the reason those fish were relocated was after the fire comes through, the next time we have big rains in the winter, all the silt and ash flows into the stream and chokes the stream and basically sterilizes it, kills everything in it. So now I'm wondering if Fish and Game are going to be embarking on another fish rescue in the East Fork, because there's even more fish over there. Who knows? The other thing I'm pretty passionate about, and I'll just use this map because it's up, so the Arroyo is right here, this little squiggly line, and JPL's down here, and this is the river. It comes right up, and then this section right here, Switzer Falls, is right up here. This section here is called Royal Gorge, and Royal Gorge is a ridiculously beautiful section of river, as beautiful, if not more, than the stretch sort of north of JPL. And right now it doesn't have any fish in it because of probably that 2009 wildfire, because it did have fish in it historically. And one of the things, I mean, long-term, a dream that Tim has had probably for a generation is to remove the Brown Mountain Dam, which is right about here. And that is if you haven't been up there and hiked to it, it is about 100 and, what is it, Tim? About 100 feet high, 100 feet high. And I'm going to show you two clips right now. So, first of all, this is what the river looks like right now. This was a couple weeks ago. Very low, some pools. In terms of fish and wildlife, you saw the great blue heron, but the fish tend to hang out in deeper, cooler pools, shadier pools. But the water temperature is actually still pretty darn good for trout. It's not super high. But when it rains, this is what the river looks like. So this was, Danny, not if you can hear me talk and hear this video at the same time. Yeah, okay, cool.
Can't hear the video.
So basically, this is about 100 CFS by the stream meter. CFS is cubic feet per second. That's how much water is running through the stream. And at the height of the storm, it was like 400. So while this is a very full stream and looks completely different than what it often looks like when you go see it, the potential for flood is huge. I mean, the amount of water that courses down this when it really rains hard is incredible. You can see there, it's just like, it's super high. There's a ton of water. But especially notable when you get to the Brown Mountain Dam pool, which I will show you if I can find it. There we go. So look at the amount of water coming off this dam. Look at that. It just blows out the whole pool. And when you go there, a lot of times people are astounded to see me fishing and pulling fish out of any of these pools. But the dam pool here, this provides a significant fish barrier. Even in the highest of water, when there's that much water, you're not going to have a fish that's going to be able to swim up that stream. And historically, steelhead from the ocean came all the way up to Switzer's. There's reports of people, steelhead come up there to spawn and they just die, and there are people wading around in 3-foot-long steelhead fish. And one of the interesting things is it's very hard to tell a wild rainbow trout from a steelhead. One of the things, the way you tell is let it hit the ocean and see if it becomes an adult steelhead. And so one of the things that our wild trout populations that are now behind all of this concrete and all of these dams, they could all hold steelhead genetics. And so when people say, oh, there's only 300 steelhead, they're talking about the steelhead that they can measure in the ocean. Whereas if some of these 4,000 fish hit the ocean, they very well could become steelhead. And so the federal protections for the endangered species for the steelhead are really good. There are some limitations where they don't really protect things behind barriers because their argument is, well, they can't get to the ocean, so it doesn't matter. But my argument is, like, if we can safeguard these populations, improve stream conditions for them, then once there are passages to the ocean, you can improve the whole population of steelhead. You can improve the genetics of steelhead in the same way that you might safeguard a population of other examples of golden trout or cutthroat trout from Colorado to then strengthen a genetic pool later. So the other clip I want to show you is the same dam pool, and I'll show you just a little bit of I was pretty astounded when I first started fishing here that there were fish at all. And here's the dam pool, and this was February of this year. And I mean, I was like, okay, there's a good size fish for this little stream. And so then I got curious and I said, okay, I'm going to put a underwater camera in the pool to really let's check it out. And so I got this big long stick, hooked up my son's instant sort of, or his small little Nikon waterproof camera. And then what we have is this shot. So I got pretty deep in there. And I had seen this before, but so here's me with the camera. And then we're going to cut to the underwater footage. And I was absolutely blown away how many fish were under there. So get to it, Keegan. Here we go. There we go. And this is just in the one pool. And all these fish, all they want to do is go upstream. That's all they want to do. And this is the end of the line for them. This is where the subway ends. And so I think long-term, I know, removing the Brown Mountain Dam altogether and allowing these fish to then populate all the way back up to Switzer's for 6 miles is definitely on everybody's mind, as is improving stream conditions. There's also places where they've paved over the stream for people to drive across it and other things like that. And just as a side note, every time I'm up there, you can really pick up a boatload of trash if you want, because there's a lot of trash up there. There's some homeless people that have taken up residence near Gould Mesa, and a lot of their stuff floats downstream. There was a whole cabin that now, Tim, last time I was up there, there's 2 basically eviction notices from the forest department saying they're taking it down. But someone had been living there, and there was just bike tires and ladders, and I pulled out like 100-foot like plastic tubing piece. It was pretty funny coming down the trail, dragging 100 feet of black plastic tubing. But there's a lot of fish there. It's a beautiful stream. It feels pristine and wild in a really incredible way. And to have it so close to us, it's just like, it's such a treasure, in my opinion. And so that's why I'm involved. I come out there for days like this, just total zen fishing. And so, that's why I'm involved, and sort of just to do anything I can to create this as a place that people can go and enjoy this kind of thing. And it's also hard because the more people that go and enjoy it, the more it gets loved to death. Speaking of the trash cleanups, if you follow the East Fork of the San Gabriel River, they do weekly trash cleanups, and it's just appalling what people put in the stream, leave at the stream: fire rings, tents, tarps, and what Danny said about building pools. People like to build pools. I don't know if it's a human need to build something, but they want to put rocks across the river and create a nice deep pool that they can play in. But all of that makes it harder for fish to travel the length of the stream and find places to hide out in the shade and eat pools when it's too hot. That's how they weather the storm. And so we're talking to Fish and Wildlife about trying to repopulate above the dam and use that as kind of like a stock of wild fish. And who knows what will happen now with the fire, because that is a significant blow to the local mountains ecosystems. Is actually both of these fires, the not so much the airport fire down in the OC, but both the bridge fire here and the line fire. The line fire has already chewed through so many streams like this, and if it keeps going towards Big Bear, it's going to get the whole entire Santa Ana River. And so I wonder what's going to happen with that, and I think there'll be a lot of discussions about how do we save the fish or help these areas recover from fire in the best way as well. So I've talked a lot, but that's a little bit about me and some footage from my adventures. So I'll send it back to Danny.
Thank you so much, Keegan.
You are welcome.
Let me this is the time for our visitors to talk. Yeah, how about questions? I imagine some of you have some questions. Let's start with just questions about what's already been presented, and then I'd like to go through it with you almost individually and say, what are your talents and skills? How would you like to get involved? How can we put you to work on these projects? So who would like to
do you want to have people just type like Q in the chat box if they have a question?
Why don't you line up in the chat box, say that you want to say something, and we'll follow it that way. So use the chat box in order to indicate that you'd like to say something, and then we'll unmute you. Nobody has anything to say. I don't believe it. Here we go. There we go, Brian.
So I just wanted to thank you guys for hosting this and for everything you're doing. Like, it's great to see people that have a passion for something and making something happen. And so I just kind of stumbled on what you guys are doing, and I'm interested. But I just wanted to thank you for what you're doing.
Well, thank you, Ryan. All right. All right, now we're getting it.
You want to go to Alexandra next?
Yeah, we'll actually unmute you if you want. If you want to talk, that would be better.
Hi, everyone. Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll start with a super practical question. For the volunteer opportunity, do you know what time it starts? For Saturday afternoon?
The one on Saturday, the 21st, starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's at Brookside Park.
Great.
Kind of right by a little bit, I think, well, they're not sure, but somewhere near the Aquatic Center, the southern part of Brookside Park. And if you go to 1 o'clock, But if you can't stay the entire time, that's fine too. Just come, and they're going to do the area basically, down beneath the bridges.
Nice. Great. I'm familiar.
Yeah,
So
and sign up with
Heal the Bay.
Heal the Bay. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. I it's great to see the presentation and to hear you talk, and it's really exciting to see Keegan's videos and Danny to hear about your passions and Tim to get the history as well. So about me, I feel like I have a lot of expertise I could lend. Not too much time. I'm a busy mom, work full time. I have little kids. Recently, I was very much inspired to participate in this call and to stick with it because we were at the LA Zoo, and there's an exhibit at the LA Zoo founded by the Annenberg Foundation. It's a little side visit as you walk in, and it's got rainbow trout and steelhead trout. And my kids were more fascinated by those fish than some of the most exotic animals there. Yeah.
Do you know how long that's been there?
It's new. It's somewhat new. I think the last time I went to the zoo was like 18 months ago, and so it's new since then.
The Aquarium of the Pacific has one. I don't know if they still have it, but they had a whole watershed model.
That's what I meant to say. I think it was the aquarium. Sorry, we went to two places.
Oh,
You're right. It's the aquarium. The aquarium, not the zoo.
I've been there a while, and it's really worth seeing. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I grew up in West Pasadena, and I've lived a bunch of other places, come back. I have some tangible skills to contribute. I work on environmental health and climate change policy at the RAND Corporation.
Oh, wow.
I am a water microbiologist, and I'm super local and passionate about the subject. So I feel like my answer is check yes for all of the boxes.
Okay.
Long term and short term, I think I'm more available for things that would work with my schedule as a parent. But I'm here, and I'm so excited to meet you.
Thank you for coming tonight, Alexandra. That's really wonderful, your background. The rigor of the RAND Corporation, we always have to admire. So I'm glad you came.
Thank you. Wonderful to meet you.
All right. Christian Lee, you want to say hello?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. This is Kyle Werner. So we actually have a club for high school nature conservation, and we just kind of want to introduce ourselves. That's fine.
That's great, Kyle. What high school is it?
So it's pretty near. It's the you probably know it, St. Francis.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just up the hill.
Yeah. So we kind of just want to find opportunities for our members and stuff.
Well, I'm sure that a great opportunity for your members would be to just take a hike in the Arroyo, and to then go beyond that. Maybe you could do some kind of a stream cleanup, or maybe your club could take on a little project to remove some invasive species from the stream or something like that. But there's lots of other activities as well. Looking, bird mapping and habitat mapping and all that sort of stuff, and getting into, creating the right kind of environmental maps, the GIS maps that are so important now. So there's lots of opportunities, and we'd love to work with you, Kyle, to make something happen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting us.
I can answer what Chasen asked about. What do you do when you're trout scouting?
Right.
So I think historically, before, as Tim said, people were saying there's no fish in the stream. We have documented cases that there were definitely fish in the stream up until 2018, 2019, and then there was the 2020 fire, and that's when the fish were relocated. So then, absolutely, the fish was highly populated the stream was highly populated with fish. So before then, it was about looking for fish. It was about going into the pools, snorkeling gear, fly fishing gear, whatever you have, and trying to see, okay, are there fish? Where are they hanging out? And I think, on the one hand, fly fishing is fun. It's a recharge. It's a Zen type activity. It's recreation. But also just going to the same stream repeatedly, you tend to see patterns of where the fish are hanging out. You tend to see, okay, well, they're not here today. I wonder why. These conditions, da, 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 da. And if you're visiting a stream, so now when there is so much fish, and there are so much fish in the stream, the last time I was there was a stretch of river where I was catching big fish, and now there were little fish, but no big fish. And I didn't know where all the big fish went, and I'm trying to figure it out. And so a lot of that, and also as we think about trying to repopulate the entire stream of the dam, I did an entire scout up there during high water and, well, highish water in March. But to go back up there, there very well could be fish hanging on up there. I wouldn't be surprised given the resilience of the ecosystem as a whole. But I haven't seen them, and neither has anyone else, since about 2020 when that fire ripped through. So going back up into the upper reaches, if you're a hiker, if you're, this is remote, wild canyon. It is very difficult. You're walking in the river. There are no trails. At low water, it's actually much easier. But I'm planning to go up there sometime in the next 2 months when the water is really low, and to document that stretch of the river. So when we talk to Fish and Game, I can say, hey, look at this video footage. This is what the habitat looks like. So we can try to convince them to help move some fish or to support that effort or whatever. So there's definitely opportunities for looking for fish still. And Tim also said that historically there have been documented fish in Millard Canyon. I don't know if you've been to Millard Falls, but I've never seen a fish there. I've been there a bunch. It doesn't mean they're not there. And so that kind of exploratory information gathering is sort of the trout scouting we do now, and also learning safe handling techniques for fish, catch and release, trying to educate other people when you're out there. Oh my God, you're catching fish out there? Yes, let me tell you about it. Da, 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 da. Having a presence on the stream is with people who are in the know and are trying to do good for the stream. You're in any of these wild places, you're going to find people who are out there to not do good. I think there was a documented case of Lake Pyro where someone came in with a net and took like 600 fish out of it, totally illegal, and they got written up for it and all that. But there isn't a Forest Service presence. There isn't a Fish and Wildlife presence because those agencies are spread thin everywhere else. And so I personally, whenever I'm out there, take the steward of the Arroyo as a very literal term. I'm like, I'm the person who's here to help other people, to spread knowledge, I like Danny. I met Danny because I was walking and I had a fish on my hat, and he's like, hey, are you fishing? And I'm like, yeah, fishing. What do you do? Like, I was there with my kids, and it's just kind of sparking up conversation and really being a steward of the river and reminding people to pick up their trash. Every time I go, I have a trash bag on my belt and it's full by the time I get back because people drop everything, So trout scouting, while we know there's fish there now, we're not necessarily looking for them in the stretch between the dam and JPL. There are other projects that we can get involved in. And when I go do that scout, if you're a good hiker and you want to come along, great, let's do it. Let's, bring sandwiches and let's go document the upper reaches. And so that's the kind of thing that that entails at this point.
Yeah, let me announce also something very significant is that we've worked over the years with a firm called Stillwater Sciences, and they have recently released a report on Brown Mountain Dam, which is the preliminary technical assessment for the removal of the dam, which is really a big step forward in terms of moving ahead. And we're also doing work identifying barriers in the stream, and we're going to go seek funding from the state of California to do some projects to remove some of the big concrete slabs and barriers in the stream that are kind of inhibiting the passage of wildlife and fish, trout in particular. So there's some real progress just recently in terms of a scientific study, a technical assessment of what to do with the removal of the dam. And if you'd like to see it, let me know, and we'll get you a copy of it. We'll shoot you the link. And it's kind of technical, so be ready for a technical report. I mean, one of the things, it talks an awful lot about sediment. So you better, if you're interested in sediment, which is kind of an obscure topic, but a very important one in terms of stream management. So anyway, that's important for people to know too. So there are, I really like the way, Keegan, that you outlined, some of the tasks that people can do up there. And we really do want to emphasize the stewardship aspect. We don't want people going up there fishing who don't know what they're doing, and who don't know what the ethics of fishing are really. And so it's very important that we do some training, and that's going to be one of our upcoming projects really, is to do some education of the public about, what to do in an area that has fish that are really endangered fish in the stream just above our community, and we can do something to help bring them back. So now let's see. Christian Lee, is that Kyle again? You want where do we go usually do it based off of? What do you guys usually do it based off of? Well, the mountain part is really like a 12-mile stream. So, there's different ways to get up there. And we vary it according to where the site is that we want to get to. Sometimes we want to get to, near Switzer's, way up in the top of the watershed off of the Angeles Crest Highway. Sometimes we take the road down. You might know the Edison facility on the top of the hill there in La Cañada. There's a road down that goes down into the Arroyo from there. Probably the most common way people are going up the Gabrielino Trail, which is actually a national recreational trail that goes right up the middle of the Arroyo. So we kind of vary, where we base our start from based on what kind of projects we're doing. All right. Let's see. All right. Anything else? Anybody? Does anyone? Alexandra's comments were really very helpful. I know some of you, I think, already have some background in environmental studies, and could provide a real service to our projects. Do you want to talk about that? Does anyone have a degree in biology or environmental studies of any sort? Now, if I shift here to multi-speaker, does everybody see a different screen now?
No, that's just you. That's on your side.
It's just me. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was hoping to see someone waving their hand or something. Somebody offering to, Keegan and Danny are both fly fishermen, which is terrific. It's really great because they can, they have an instinct for where the fish are, and they're able to use their fly fishing techniques in order to get the trout to kind of come out of their hiding spots, because they hide. They're really good hiders, as a matter of fact. That's why they've been able to survive all these years. So, but there are other ways. And another way that some of our friends have done recently in the last couple of years is they've done a lot of snorkeling. So they go up there in freezing cold water, in 18-inch pools, and they find fish in these 18-inch pools, snorkeling. So that's another technique that can be used that, might be a lot of fun for someone. All right. Well, it looks like, we can follow up with questions as Danny just put a note in chat saying, if you have any questions after the meeting, send them an email at the Arroyo Seco Stream Team at gmail.com, or get in touch with the main Stewards of the Arroyo information numbers at our website, which is easy to remember, www.arroyoseco.org. And want to thank you all for coming this evening. I hope you'll spread the word about the magic that's going on in the Arroyo Seco and the possibility that we have to really create a big difference. Because, when we say that the Arroyo Seco is a good candidate for stream restoration and for the restoration of steelhead, the scientists at Stillwater Sciences have basically documented that it is the best stream in the LA River system. There's no other stream that's better. There are some that might even have rainbow trout in them and all of that. Like, for instance, Tunga Wash has rainbow trout in it. And on the other side of the mountains, when you go over to Santa Clara River, there's a lot of steelhead or, rainbow trout over in that area too. But it's really, the Arroyo Seco is really very special. And Stillwater Sciences is working with us and a few others to do a project in downtown LA near the confluence of the Arroyo Seco and the LA River. And in that project, they're going to try to create like a quarter mile of stream there that'll actually be like good condition for resting spaces for rainbow trout or steelhead. And they're ready to begin construction. They have funding from the state in order to do that. And so
Tim, can I chime in with one thing
Sure.
about this too?
Sure.
The other thing that so often gets me is people ask, well, why should we conserve this stream when there's these miles and miles of concrete in the LA River that before it hits the ocean in Long Beach? And my answer to that is like, well, if we have people working at every segment, like you just said, there's a project going on in downtown. Cool. There's still all kinds of uninhabitable stream between there and the ocean. But if we can improve our little sector of the map so that when the time comes, we can, open the floodgate, and those steelhead that used to come up to our mountains to spawn can once again do so. I mean, like, can you imagine that happening in our lifetime? It would just be incredible. And so to keep the stream clean, to keep, healthy fish, to try to remove the dam, all these things, while it seems like, okay, there's this huge other bear, this stream goes directly into the LA River. And so it's a direct lifeline if and when that opens up. And so on the one hand, having a pristine piece of nature is great, but also where it fits into the larger picture of restoring steelhead and because steelhead are endangered, if that, federally and up the chain, that's really important to people. And so, the LA River and the Arroyo Seco and the other tributaries could become really important. Hopefully in our lifetime, it will. And I mean, Tim, I know you've been looking forward to seeing it for a long time, and you've been fighting for years and years. So just wanted to, just because it's easy to think, oh, well, we're not going to make a difference because there's still all this water before the ocean. But I still think it's really important, especially genetically, if the species is endangered and these fish are genetically can become steelhead, and even if it's only a certain number of them, it's important to safeguard that, and improving conditions and repopulating the upper reaches of the stream are just a way to do that and sort of put a cold storage on those genetics too. So yeah, that's all. Just want to chime in.
The way I look at it is the stage we're at is preliminary, and we're looking at a preliminary analysis of the dam. We want to get it out of there right away. We know it's going to take some time to do, but we're looking at Devil's Gate Dam. We're trying to figure out how to get through Devil's Gate Dam. We're trying to create spots further along the Arroyo Seco in the urban part of the Arroyo Seco through Pasadena, South Pasadena, and the city of Los Angeles, Northeast LA. And we're trying to create resting spots along the urban part of the Arroyo Seco. And that's part of our planning framework here. So what we're doing now largely is actually, initial study, but it's really to protect and expand the population of the rainbow trout in the mountains. And maybe even, at some point, maybe we'll be trucking fish, rainbow trout out to the ocean because there's so much concrete, maybe we'll just take them out to the ocean, which, it'd be great to document that they are in fact steelhead and that we can increase the population of the steelhead in the Pacific Ocean that way. And when you look at it, 5 years ago, city of Pasadena said there's no trout in the mountains. Well, there's now 4,000 documented by California Fish and Wildlife. So it's really exciting to be part of that. And I think that people who volunteer with our efforts are going to be very rewarded, personally, and satisfied with that their work has been significant.
Well, I think, Tim, one of the things that people can really help with in terms of liaising with the population, like Tim has told me repeatedly, that to get stuff done like this, you really need to engage the agencies and the politicians and the local select board. All the local people need to be aware of what's going on and sort of come together in order to get anything done at all. And so the more people we have aware of it and talking and even just racking your brain and thinking, oh, who do I know that maybe help with a connection, or how do I, how could we work this? I think, reach out to him and Danny, because it's amazing if you just really think you just 2 people away, you might know someone that could lend a hand or open a door for a conversation in a larger context, because we really do need people to be talking about it. Because it also comes down to money. I mean, to remove the dam is going to cost what, Tim? Like millions of dollars. There's 1 million cubic feet of sediment behind the dam. You can't just blow it up because that just all washes into Pasadena. And so, for a project like that, it's going to take money, and that's going to take political clout and, having a bunch of people figuring out where that money's going to come from. So if you want to get involved in the people side, like talk to Tim on that, because that's just as important as anything that's physically happening on the.
Yeah, we need voices for the Arroyo too. In November, the voters in Pasadena are going to vote for a bond issue to restore the wonderful main branch of the Pasadena Library. And that bond issue is $225 million. And in recent years, the last 20 or 30 years, hundreds of millions of dollars have been put into the Rose Bowl in order to create, to kind of keep it as a viable stadium for particularly collegiate football, but and for other events too. So I mean, Pasadena is investing a lot of money in its local facilities. And ask me how much they're investing in the Arroyo Seco. Not very much. So, but it's only because, we need to have people out there who are saying, hey, this is important. This is our natural legacy. This is what we're handing down to future generations. We can either hand down something that's going to be better or it's going to be worse, And when I say worse, we already know that the flood channel is not large enough to deal with the kind of floods that are likely to come in the future. That's a pretty scary thing to think about, and some people who might think that we are kind of underplaying, the possibility of floods like that and all in the Arroyo. That's not true at all. We're saying be realistic about restoring more natural hydrology all along the Arroyo. And that's going to take a whole different way of thinking than is really the common way at this time. All right. Anyone else have something to say? I know you got to say it. People want to hear it. How about you, Wendy? No? No? Anyone else? All right. Well, listen, the first thing you can do, easy to do, real easy to do, join the cleanup on Saturday, September 21st, Brookside Park, 9 a.m., and help clean up the area, underneath the Colorado Street Bridge and the 134 bridge there. And that'll be a good start, and you'll get a good sense. And it's always rewarding to do that. I mean, it's the polluted site that keeps on giving, we keep going back there over and over and over again, cleaning it up. But it is it's an indication that kind of how much trash is in the stream. Obviously, the best indication of the health of the stream is how many rainbow trout there are in the stream and how much concrete we get out of the stream. Those are the best indications. But also, a negative indication is the amount of trash that's in the stream. And so, even doing things to, not dump oil in the gutter and other kinds of things like that are important because, most of the lower storm drains are going straight to the Arroyo Seco and eventually to the LA River and eventually to the Pacific Ocean. So anyway, do your part. And it's a good way to start Saturday, September 21st, 9 a.m., Brookside Park. But sign up first at Heal the Bay at healthebay.org is the website involved. Thanks so much for coming this evening. We'll keep you on our mailing list and let you know about future activities. And we're just so glad that you came and hope that a lot of you get very involved in it because it's a very exciting campaign that you can really make a difference in. So with that, I say have a very nice evening. Good night.